What's up, everybody? This is your friend Agustin Auggie Rexach for HollywoodEditingMentor.com, coming at you with a new video. Today we're going to be discussing turnovers. What is a turnover? We've gotten the question. People want to know what's a turnover when we use this term, what does it entail, and what it is. So we're here to answer that question. Now, before I get too far into it, I just want to let you guys know that this won't be a step-by-step how-to video about doing turnovers. This is just more of a broad strokes general idea of what a turnover is, in the vein of uncovering the mystery of the continuity sheet. Like here, we're uncovering the mystery of what a turnover is for you guys that have asked. So without further ado, let's get into it. In scripted television, when we talk about turnover, we are talking about the process of delivering an approved log cut to all the different post vendors. And these vendors are responsible for delivering the final broadcast quality elements that will form your final broadcast master. Okay, so what's the major objective of a turnover? Basically, it's to allow all these different vendors to be able to conform and reconstruct accurately and to the frame all the decisions and everything that you've built in your cutting room. An example of this would be to provide EDLs and AAFs that will allow your dialogue editor to conform the edited dialogue from the original production sound rules. Another example of this would be providing an avid bin or EDL of your logged sequence, and this will be used by your picture house to conform the picture edits you've done to the original camera master files. And it's at this point that as an assistant editor, you become more of a project manager, shall we say, because it will be your job to oversee the deliveries to a whole supply chain of companies that are going to be working on your episode in order to finish it in a timely manner. So as an assistant editor, you will be basically delivering turnovers to 4 different departments. You will deliver to a picture house, which will take care of conforming all of your edits to the original camera masters, and then passing it on to a color grading suite where the final look and feel of the visual picture will be rendered. You will also be delivering to your sound house, where the sound house will take all the sound elements that will make up your episode and mix them all, making sure that everything balances out and everything is clear sounding. You will also be delivering to your music department. This is where your composer will be writing original music for your episode. And finally, visual effects. If your episode has visual effects, you will be responsible for turning over each and every shot that has been predetermined by your producer, editor, director, and showrunner to have visual effects. Because of the tight post-production deadlines, it means that once your episode is logged, and it goes out to all these different companies, they are all going to be working on your episode simultaneously. All right? Post-production schedules do not allow for a gradual finishing of an episode. That means, it's not possible for picture to do its thing, then it passes on to sound, and then it passes on to music, and then visual effects. No, it's once that episode is logged, we're off to the races, and everybody's working at the same time in order to meet that air date or post-production delivery date. And what that means is that you have to make sure that each and every one of these vendors is working on the correct version of the cut. The nightmare scenario here would be for picture to conform one version of a cut and sound and music and visual effects to be working on an outdated version of the cut. What happens when all these elements are joined in at the end? They're going to be out of sync, and I don't even want to think about it. You're going to be fired. Not good. So you have to ensure that everybody involved in this post-production pipeline is working on the correct, final, and approved version. So what I tend to do is once my episode logs, and I have it here on what we call a log cut bin, the very first thing that I do is I duplicate that version and stick it on a brand new bin inside my assistant folder, and I rename it log cut MT for master turnover sequence. Now, for me at this point, I put it down in my assistant folder so nobody else but me touches that sequence. Nobody but me knows where it's at. And from this point on, anything that goes out of my cutting room starts and ends with this one sequence. That way I make sure I am referencing the correct sequence. The same sequence, I am keeping it uniform throughout my deliverables to all these companies. So every show will have different vendors, and each vendor will have slightly different turnovers. But before you get too overwhelmed or scared about this, don't worry. Every vendor's responsibility is to provide you with a specific list of requirements for these deliverables. And this is what's called a spec sheet. Good post producers will more often than not gather all these different spec sheets from all these different vendors and consolidate them in one master spec sheet, which they then distribute to the assistant editors. I had the pleasure of helping out on the show Legion for 1 month as they were wrapping their season. And here I got to give a shout out to post producers Christy Reed, Craig Yahara. They had the absolute best consolidated spec sheet. I mean, if you've ever seen an episode of Legion, you know this is a complex show. It has a lot of visual effects, titles, stack compositions. There's a lot of moving parts. If I hadn't had the list that these guys compiled, I would have been in trouble. They were very thorough, right down to working links on the list. I mean, it made my month-long stay at Legion very smooth. Thank you. So that's it, family. That's in very broad strokes what a turnover is. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll take the opportunity here again to thank you all for your support of Hollywood Editing Mentor. Please keep checking here, check often, because we strive to bring you the best content that you can use and learn from. Okay? Till next time, have a great one, guys. Take care.